Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances of Lord Shri Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be continuing with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 12, verse 20, and the chapter is entitled The Birth of Emperor Parikshit, and it'll be given to us by His Grace Dronacharya Prabhu from ISKCON, Philadelphia. Thank you so much, Dronacharya, for shifting your life around and giving us your time this morning. We really look forward to hearing from you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Good morning, Harrisburg family. It's great to be with you today. School's back in session. I take my son, he's in 10th grade, back and forth to school. So it's a little bit of sometimes in the mornings, a little bit of a struggle based on the traffic and such. So summer's over. Summer's over, and so please forgive me.
No problem. Reality sets in again, huh, Prabhu?
Yes.
It's all yours.
So yeah, so we're listening very sweet kirtan there. So just jump right into the to the
Yes, you
Bhagavatam.
can. Yes, you can, Prabhu.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiradir Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki. We're continuing our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 12, entitled The Birth of Emperor Parikshit, and we are on text number 20. This verse 20 is the continuation of the Brahmins, what they were saying about how they were giving benedictions to Parikshit at his birth. King Yudhisthira, the king at the time, had asked the Brahmins to attend, and he was asking them questions. What is he going to be like? And that was a very relevant, because he was the last heir in the dynasty. The other ones have been killed by Ashvatthama. If you remember, all the five sons of the Pandavas have been killed, and this was like Parikshit was just in the womb at that point, and Parikshit was also was almost killed, but he was saved by the same Brahmastra weapon of Ashvatthama, but Lord Krishna protected him while in the womb. So he was like the last remaining heir to the dynasty, and so they were really wondering what he was going to be like. Is he going to become this great king that will carry on the tradition? So the Brahmins were reassuring Maharaj Yudhisthira and the rest of the Pandava brothers, how great he was going to be. So that's where we are today. Esha datta saranyascha yatahi ushanara shabi yashovitanita swanam doshantir eva yajvanam. Synonyms: Eshaha, this child; Data, donor in charity; Sharanya, protector of the surrendered; Cha, and; Yata, as; he, certainly; Oshin Araha, the country named Ushin Ara; Shibi, Shibihi, Shibi; Yashaha, fame; Vitanita, disseminator; Swanam, of the kinsmen; Doshantihi, like Bharta, the son of Dushanta; Yajvanam, of those who have performed many sacrifices. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This child will be a munificent donor of charity and protector of the surrendered. like the famous king Shibi of the Usinara country. And he will expand the name and fame of his family like Bart, the son of Maharaj Dushanta. Purport. A king becomes famous by his acts of charity, performance of yagyas, protection of the surrendered, etc. A Kshatriya king is proud to give protection to the surrendered souls. The attitude of a king is called Ishvara Bhava, or factual power to give protection in a righteous cause. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord instructs living beings to surrender unto him, and he promises all protection. The Lord is all-powerful and true to his word, and therefore he never fails to give protection to his different devotees. The king, being the representative of the Lord, must possess this attitude of giving protection to the surrendered souls at all risk. Maharaj Shibi, the king of Usinara, was an intimate friend of Maharaj Yayati, who was able to reach the heavenly planets along with Maharaj Shibi. Maharaj Shibi was aware of the heavenly planet where he was transferred after his death. And the description of the heavenly planet is given in the Mahabharata, Adi Parva 96, 6 to 9. Maharaj Shibi was so charitably disposed that he wanted to give over his acquired position in the heavenly kingdom to Yayati, but he did not accept it. Yayati went to the heavenly planet along with great rishis like Astaka and others. On inquiry from the rishis, Yayati gave an account of Shivi's pious acts when all of them were on the path to heaven. He has become a member of the assembly of Yamaraj, who has become his worshipable deity. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, the worshipper of the demigod goes to the planet of the demigods, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan. So Maharaj Shibi has become an associate of the great Vaishnava authority Yamaraj on that particular planet. While he was on the earth, he became very famous as a protector of surrendered souls and a donor of charities. The King of Heaven once took the shape. The King of Heaven once took the shape of a pigeon hunter bird, eagle, and Agni, the fire god, took the shape of a pigeon. The pigeon, while being chased by the eagle, took shelter on the lap of Maharaj Shibi. The hunter eagle wanted the pigeon back from the king. The king wanted to give it some other meat to eat and requested the bird not to kill the pigeon. The hunter bird refused to accept the king's offer. But it was settled later that the eagle would accept flesh from the body of the king, of the pigeon, equivalent to the body of the king of the pigeon's equivalent weight. The king began to cut flesh off his body to weigh it on a balance equivalent to the weight of the pigeon. But the mystic pigeon always remained heavier. The king put himself on the balance to equate with the pigeon, and the demigods were pleased with him. The King of Heaven and the fire god disclosed their identity, and the king was blessed by them. Devarshi Narada also glorified Maharaj Shibi for his great achievements, specifically in charity and protection. Maharaj Shibi sacrificed his own son for the satisfaction of human beings in his kingdom. And thus King Parikshit was to become the second Shibi in charity and protection. Dushanti Bharata. There are many Bharatas in history, of which Bharata, the brother of Ram, Bharata, the son of King Rishabha, and Bharata, the son of Maharaj Dushanta, are very famous. All of these Bhartas are historically known to the universe. This earth planet is known as Bharata, or Bhartvarsha, due to King Bharata, the son of Rishabha. But according to some, this land is known as Bharta due to the reign of the son of Dushanta. As far as we are convinced, this land's name of Bhartvarsha was established from the reign of Bharta, the son of King Rishabha. Before him, the land was known as Ilavartavarsha. But just after the coronation of Bharta, the son of Rishabha, the land became famous as Bhartvarsha. But despite all this, Bharta, the son of Maharaj Dushanta, was not less important. He is the son of the famous beauty Shakuntala. Maharaj Dushanta fell in love with Shakuntala in the forest, and Bharta was conceived. After that, Maharaj forgot his wife Shakuntala by the curse of Kanva Muni, and the child Bharta was brought up in the forest by his mother. Even in his childhood, he was so powerful that he challenged the lions and elephants in the forest and would fight with them as little children play with cats and dogs. Because of the boys becoming so strong, more than so-called modern Tarzan, the rishis in the forest called him Sarvadamana, or one who was able to control everyone. A full description of Maharaj Bharta is given in the Mahabharata Adiparva. The Pandavas and the Kauravas are sometimes addressed as Bharta due to them being born in the dynasty of Maharaj Bharta, the son of King Dushanta. Om Agyanatamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Swapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This child will be this child will be a munificent donor of charity and protector of the surrendered, like the famous King Shibi of the Usinara country. And he will expand the name and fame of his family like Bharta, the son of Maharaj Dushyanta. So this must have given Maharaj Yudhisthira and the other Pandavas who were there a feeling of great confidence and ease, knowing that the future of the dynasty was going to be in good hands. In the previous verse, the Brahmanas told Maharaj Yudhisthira that that Maharaj Parikshit was going to be like King Ikshvaku, the son of Manu. King Ikshvaku from the Bhagavad Gita. He was imparted, originally the sun god was imparted the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita from Lord Krishna, and the sun god imparted it unto his son Manu. And then Manu, the son of Manu, was Ikshvaku. So these are great personalities over the course of history. And then he told him that, he'll be following Brahminical principles, and he will be true to his promise, be just like Lord Ramachandra. So to the process of comparison of great personalities, these Brahmanas were comparing the glory and capacity and qualities of this future king, Maharaj Parikshit, thus giving a sense of comfort to Maharaj Yudhisthira and his brothers. So the qualities that were spoken about in the previous verse, were so Ikshvaku, it said that he maintained all those who were born. So the sense of protection and maintenance from the king. And then true to his promise, just like Lord Ram. And then today, the qualities that were being discussed were, he's going to be a munificent or very, an extremely charitable king. And he's going to be a protector of the surrendered. And this is the comparison to King Shibi. And then also he was going to expand the name and fame of his family, like Bharta, the son of Maharaj Dushyanta. Let's start with that one, the name and the fame, because your name and fame can go one of two ways. If a person does wonderful activities, their name and fame can be used to inspire positivity. We want to be associated with people, organizations, people, especially people of the past, who have been very successful and achieved great things. This is even true in Krishna consciousness, right? We want to be associated with a lineage that is, connected directly with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that was not broken over the course of time, that, stayed true to its word and not manufacturing any type of philosophy or having any type of philosophical deviations. And that's why our acharyas, work so hard and serve so hard to be able to maintain this disciplic succession. So when we say that we're part of the Gaudiya Vaishnava lineage, or that we are Rupanugas or Prabhupadanugas, or that we are the part of the Gaudiyas or the Madhva, the Brahma Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. There's great recognition in that, because it is not something very, simple or, casual. You can't just claim yourself to be a member of it. It's something that you have to be initiated into. It takes on a huge gravity based on what it stands for. People associate themselves on a more mundane level with the country that they were born into, be it as Americans or, Bharta, the land of, coming from the land of Bart, or the India, or people, all different countries of the world people associate themselves with. They want to have this kind of name and fame that goes along with it. Or sometimes you'll see, again, on the mundane level, people say, I'm a relative of such and such actress, because there's name and fame associated with it, and they want to be associated with, people that are famous. For us as devotees, there's, nothing of greater significance and pride to say that, we are associated with the lineage of Srila Prabhupada. And of the Saraswati Devis, we say, Namaste Saraswati Devi. We're the lineage of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Srila Prabhupada was in the lineage of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So to say that we're that is something wonderful and great. So the same thing that the family of Bharta, the Brahmanas were telling Maharaj Yudhisthira that just like you are Bhartas, and that you have increased this name and fame of this great lineage, he will also, Maharaj Parikshit, expand this. And this is positive in the way, because the lineage of Bharat Maharaj was righteous. It brought about prosperity, and even more so, it brought about God consciousness. In the beginning of the purport, it says, a king becomes famous by his acts of charity, performance of yajnas, and protection of the surrendered. So as long as the king is doing these activities, it is actually to be understood that he is executing the will of the Lord. We know that there are many impious kings who and rulers of the world that take advantage of the innocent citizens that they're meant to protect. They exploit them through unnatural taxation. They exploit the earth through mining the resources and polluting the skies and waterways and land, pollute the animals by allowing activities such as meat eating and animal slaughter to take place. So we know that there are those kings. But if the king is performing these activities of charity, making sure that the devatas and the Supreme Lord are being properly worshipped, and that they're providing adequate protection to the citizens, not just the human beings, but the animals as well. We are to understand that the king is acting as the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Special attention is being given here in this verse to the surrendered souls. Srila Prabhupada points out that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells to Arjuna that sarva dharmam pratyaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papevyo mokshashami masuchaha. That he wants all the living entities to surrender to him. Just surrender unto me and I will protect you. So one of the ways the Lord protects is through his agents, and his agency that the king or the ruler is meant to be the representative of the Supreme Lord, and that is one of the ways in which the Lord protects, not just physically but also spiritually. That if again the yajnas are being performed, and the principles of Dharma are being upheld, manipulation is not the manipulation of society and of individuals is not being permitted, then there is protection there for one to be able to progress in this lifetime on the pathway back to the Supreme Lord. And this example is exemplified by the teachings of Maharaj Shibi. And Maharaj Shibi is very, as I was doing some research on Maharaj Shibi in his class, I mean, he actually crosses beyond the Vedic paradigm, and there's accounts of him even in Buddhism as well, and the other Eastern philosophies. They really take to this example of Maharaj Shibi and they share it. Even Islam refers to Maharaj Shibi as well, not in the Quran, but Muslim theologians. They really were attracted to this example in the story of Maharaj Shibi. And what had happened is Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that in just performing some type of lila, the Lord Indra and Lord Agni, the fire god, they took forms of birds. Lord Indra took the form of an eagle, or the hunter, and the fire and Agni took the shape of a pigeon, or the hunted. And the eagle was chasing the pigeon around the sky. The pigeon was fleeing for its life because it didn't want to be killed. And Maharaj Shibi was sitting there, and the pigeon came and took shelter on his lap. And the eagle came and chased the pigeon when it was just about to come down and swoop the pigeon. And Maharaj Shibi protected the pigeon. And understanding what was happening, King Shibi wanted to basically say, here, I'll give you something in return, but I have to protect this soul that is taking shelter of me. So I'm not going to. So he tried to exchange another piece of meat for the pigeon. And the eagle said, no, the only thing I want, I want this pigeon. So then the king, having no other choice, he said, what if I give you myself, or in exchange of equal proportion to the pigeon? So the pigeon weighs, 2 kilograms. I'll give you 2 kilograms of my body. And the eagle accepted that. But in order to weigh it, they had to put him on a scale. So they put the pigeon on a scale, and Maharaj Shibi was cutting pieces of its flesh and then feeding it to the bird. Now imagine that, to that level, for an innocent little pigeon that a great king would actually cut up his own body and feed his own flesh to an eagle just in order to protect the pigeon. Now, granted, the king could have killed the pigeon, he could have killed the eagle and just have gone on with things. It's not like they were more powerful than him. They were only birds. Now, granted, they were birds. They actually had a form of two of the greatest demigods. But the king didn't know that at the time. But this just showed his compassion, and his truth to the teachings of a king to protect all the citizens, that he was willing to sacrifice himself for just kind of a useless little pigeon. Now, as he was sitting on but as the story goes on, as the pigeon was sitting on the scale, the pigeon was the fire god, Agni Dev. So he had some mystical properties. Now, one of the mystical cities is that you can become heavier and heavier or lighter and lighter. So he used the mystical, one of the mystical cities to become heavier than he actually was. So as he's seeing that, Maharaj, to get the equivalent weight, he realized that the pigeon, every time he cut off another piece, the pigeon got heavier. So he had to get on the scale so they actually balanced out the scale to actually know exactly how heavy the pigeon was. So they were playing a trick on him. How far would you go? How much of yourself would you actually sacrifice? Would it be your whole hand? Would it be your arm? Would it be your other arm? Would it be your leg? How far would you go to protect and save somebody that was under your care? It's a powerful meaning to this, powerful story, and a lot that we can take away from it. Now, when Indra and when Indra and Agni, they saw that he was going to go, to the highest level to sacrifice himself, they revealed themselves to him, and he understood what had happened. They were very pleased with him, and as a result, he was actually able to become a servant of Yamaraj in his next life. So there's a lot to be taken from here in that story, that a king's life, and actually our lives as well as devotees, there has to be a certain level of sacrifice that we are willing to make. A life without sacrifice is just a very selfish life, and is not full of any type of value or meaning. As followers of Srila Prabhupada, practitioners of Krishna consciousness, we should see how it was the great sacrifice of Srila Prabhupada, who sacrificed his life, to come across the ocean to America, giving up his, and really at that time, we didn't know what was going to happen. He knew he was in bad health. He had heart attacks on his way over, but he sacrificed his life so that we, would be able to be saved. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he stated that, "I wish that every selfless, tender-hearted person in the Gaudiya Math will be prepared to shed 200 gallons of blood for the nourishment of the spiritual life of every individual in this world. So the sacrifice that we're asked to do is in the same spirit as we see of Maharaj Shibi. We should not take this as just simply just a story that's, we can tell over and over again, but we should see how it applies to us. When we engage in acts of sacrifice, sacrificing our lives for the welfare of someone else, we'll understand that there's great empowerment that is there. And thus you can see devotees are able to do tremendous activities. But first they have to abide by their faith in Krishna and the faith in their spiritual master. As Srila Prabhupada did in taking that step on the boat to come over to America. And then many of his disciples, we see, when Mukunda and Shamasundar, Mother Malati, and Mother Yamuna, and a few others, went over to England, and Srila Prabhupada had asked them to go to, and sent them to England. They didn't have any money. We hear about these pastimes. They were very young and new to Krishna consciousness. They hardly had any money at all. In fact, they would go, they would get into England, and then they would somehow get the money back. The same money that they brought into England, send the money back, and then it would be recycled. Another person would go in, and it would come back, because they didn't want people coming in that didn't have any money. So you had to show that you had some level of money. Otherwise, you would just become a beggar into their country. They had nothing. They lived in very meager, basically homeless. But they were willing to make that sacrifice because they believed in what Srila Prabhupada was saying. They believed in the teachings of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Krishna. And they believed that, Krishna will protect us if we just surrender unto him. And Krishna did protect them. Krishna, connected them with the Beatles. They had a musical record arranged. Next thing you know, George Harrison, he donates the Bhaktivedanta Manor, this huge estate. Hare Krishna is spread the name Hare Krishna is spread all over the world, through the musical album. And we can see that these acts of sacrifice, when we're able to make certain acts of sacrifice in our personal lives, the arrangements that Krishna makes, but we have to be able to be willing to take that next step. And that can be scary. We may wonder, well, who's going to take care? There's so many things to do. And a lot of times these big sacrifices that we have to do, a lot of times we're already sacrificing. We're sacrificing for our families. We're sacrificing, for our own well-being. And these are very common. Everybody's doing that, right? Everybody's, working and making some money and making sacrifice for their family, for their kids. Parents, they run here and there, dropping off their kids at this event and that event and to the dentist. And these are the normal responsibilities that everyone has to do. But when we're able to make a sacrifice in order to help bring somebody closer to Krishna, where we can help awaken their dormant love for Krishna. That is the sacrifice of this age that is recommended by Lord Chaitanya. And we do that by performing the congregational chanting of the Lord's holy names, the distribution of Krishna Prasadam, and the spreading of spiritual literatures, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, etc. And the challenge that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has put out, he says, I wish that every selfless, tender-hearted person in the Gaudiya Math, so in our lineage, will be prepared to shed, 200 gallons, so many lifetimes, many, many lifetimes of blood for the spiritual well-being of the people of this world. So from our side, we can take these steps. We can make sure that we are making some sacrifice in the right direction by making Sankirtan a part of our lives. This is the Dharma of this age. And although it's not being spread, and the kings and leaders and rulers of this age, they're fallen, they're misguided. They are not of the status of Parikshit Maharaj or King Shivi, Ikshvaku, Lord Ram, Bharata. They're the complete opposite of it. They act only for their own personal name and fame, but not to carry on great lineages of the past. They exploit their citizens instead of protecting their citizens. They're not performing yagyas. But that is left up to us. We are to perform the yagyas. And that yagya is the yagya of Harinam Sankirtan, the Yuga Dharma of this age. And in this way, we can make a great impact in this world. That if collectively we do this, and we trust in the Lord, we trust and we have faith that Krishna will protect us. And even though it may seem, okay, wow, I'm making this big sacrifice, I'm spending a lot of my time, I may be spending a lot of my money. Krishna says, don't be attached to what you have. Be attached to me. Don't be attached to what you're giving up. Be attached to me because I will protect you. So this is what, kind of the takeaway and application that we can take from the story of Maharaj Shivi. There may be others, and you can maybe share, if you have some other takeaways. But as I was reading this, I wanted to share how we have this great opportunity, and we have these great examples in our lineage, recent lineage, and even modern day, as we see these great acts of sacrifice. Just as Maharaj Shivi was willing to cut his own body and sacrifice his own body, and we have devotees that have sacrificed their life time and time again, for the benefit of reawakening the dormant love of God within the misguided souls of this world. Okay, I will end here. See if we have any questions or comments or thoughts. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Dronacharya. As you were giving the class, actually, when you were mentioning name and fame in the beginning of the class, I was remembering a quote that Dr. Krishna shared with me this morning that I wanted to share. It's really, really powerful. And I was like, wow, tall order. And I'm trying to think where it came from, but actually, Radhanath Swami. And he said that a devotee's life should be so exemplary that it increases the faith upon other devotees, which I thought was pretty much in line with name and fame, and I was thinking, wow, that's a pretty tall, pretty tall order.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a wonderful quote. Uh, yeah, no, that is a tall order. And the way that we can do that is really just surrendering to the spiritual master. On our own, we're powerless, therefore we need empowerment. And the way we become empowered is by connecting with the source of all power, and that is Krishna.
I like how you said it. I
Yeah.
love how you just said it. Powerless empowerment with the source of all power. I love that, Drona.
Yeah, because that's where if we rely on ourselves, Krishna says, I'm the strength of the strong. You know, the Bhagavad Gita, he goes through that whole section where he explains, basically anything powerful or great or magnificent in this world, it's really him. It's really coming from him. He's the source of it. You see beauty, see Krishna. You see power, you see Krishna. You see intelligence, you see Krishna. On our own, we're just conditioned souls that think that we're independent. But and the reality is we're completely dependent. Our source of anything is that we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Insignificant on our own, but connected to Krishna. Krishna can empower us and use us. And much greater than the capacity that we could ever do individually. So that is our only hope. When we think ourselves separate, then we're like this spark, that's come out of the fire, right? It's no longer really the fire. It's just a little spark that will fizzle out. But yeah, that is a tall order, and if we're unable to meet that, we should know that there's still hope, and we should aspire for that. Don't give up if you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't, I may not be perfect as of yet, but we should certainly act in ways that will inspire, through our activities, our action, our behavior, uplift the consciousness of others. And oftentimes that's how we do become, we have inspiration, is when we see other people acting in that way. We think, oh my gosh, we see the spiritual master, we say, oh Gurudev, you did this, you did that, oh my gosh, how surrendered you are. I should do something. I can't, they say that, the disciple should work to repay. We can never fully repay the gift of the spiritual master, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't try, throughout our life to pay, to pay back that debt.
That's a beautiful sharing, and expanding on this nice topic. It's very hard to repay our spiritual master. It's like it's like a timeless debt, but at the same time, they give us so much that that the least that we can do is just follow in the footsteps, following the instructions actually of the spiritual master and the acharyas. But yeah, thank you so much for shedding light on that, Dronacharya. Thank you. I know we're close to the 9 o'clock hour. Just wanted to make sure that we are, if anyone has any questions, any comments. I believe we lost a couple of devotees because they had to get back to work. They did tell me that. But thank you, Dronacharya, so much for shedding this light on name and fame, because I think it's really important as devotees in Krishna consciousness that we really identify ourselves, as what is our name and what is our fame and what, where it all leads to. So thank you for really shedding some light on that. And thank you to all the devotees for joining us. Vanchakrapatibhyascha, Kripasindhabevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dronacharya. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.